Ron LeFlore hit rock bottom more than once. From prison to MLB stardom, his journey stunned the world. But now, at 76, his reality is even more heartbreaking. Picture this: a man who never played organized baseball becomes an all-star. Sounds impossible, right? That was Ron LeFlore's story. Born in Detroit in 1948, he grew up on the East Side where crime and drugs ruled the streets. His mother worked as a nurse's aide, trying to hold the family together. His father battled alcoholism daily. LeFlore's childhood was pure chaos. He skipped school constantly. He started using drugs as a teenager. Stealing became his specialty, as he later admitted. By 15, he was already getting arrested. He spent 19 months in reform school, but it didn't help. Instead, he got worse. He dropped out of high school and developed a heroin addiction in neighborhood shooting galleries. In December 1966, at 18, LeFlore robbed a bar to get drug money. But his biggest crime came in January 1970. At age 21, LeFlore and two friends robbed Dee's bar while recovering from a heroin high. He carried a rifle during the crime. The judge sentenced him to 5 to 15 years in prison. On April 28, 1970, he entered the state prison of Southern Michigan in Jackson. Prison was brutal at first. LeFlore spent time in solitary confinement. He fought against authority constantly. His first year was marked by resistance and anger. But then something amazing happened. He discovered baseball. LeFlore had never played organized baseball in his life. Yet on the prison team, he was incredible. He batted .509 his first season, then .469, then .569 across 3 prison seasons. His speed was unreal. Other inmates couldn't believe what they were seeing. Even his coach was a convicted felon, highlighting the unique circumstances. Word spread about this speedster behind bars. A fellow inmate named Jimmy Kerala convinced Jimmy Boutsikaris, who owned a Detroit sports bar, to tell Tigers manager Billy Martin about LeFlore. Martin was curious enough to visit the prison on May 23, 1973. What Martin saw blew his mind. LeFlore's raw talent was undeniable. Martin arranged a one-day furlough for LeFlore to try out at Tiger Stadium in June 1973. The tryout went so well that the Tigers signed him to a contract in July 1973. They gave him either $5,000 or $10,000 as a signing bonus, plus $500 per month for the rest of the season. This contract was LeFlore's ticket to freedom. It helped him meet his parole conditions. He was assigned to the Clinton Pilots in Class A, managed by Jim Leyland. After just 134 minor league games where he batted .277, he made his MLB debut on August 1, 1974. He was actually 26 years old, though he lied and claimed he was 22. The speed that made him special in prison made him electric in the majors. By 1975, he was the Tigers' leadoff hitter and center fielder. In 1976, he became an all-star and had a 30-game hitting streak. He batted .316 that season. Fans loved watching him fly around the bases. Along with rookie pitcher Mark Friedrich, LeFlore helped boost Tigers' attendance by nearly 5,000 fans per game. His best statistical season came in 1977 when he hit .325 with 16 home runs. In 1978, he led the American League with 153 singles, 126 runs scored, and 68 stolen bases. He also ranked second in hits with 198. The following year, he batted .300 and stole 78 bases. But even during his best years, serious warning signs appeared. LeFlore was terrible in the outfield. He led the league in errors multiple times during his career. He once turned a routine fly ball into a 4-base error. His lack of youth baseball training showed badly on defense. Every year except 1979, he ranked among the top 5 outfielders in errors. More troubling was his continued drug use during his playing career. The 1978 movie One in a Million, starring LeVar Burton, made LeFlore a national hero. The film was based on his autobiography, Breakout, but the movie deliberately left out his ongoing problems with drugs and self-destructive behaviors during his MLB years. LeFlore's age deception also created problems. Detroit sports writers discovered his real birth date about 3 years after he signed. While Topps baseball cards started printing his correct age in 1977, Other companies like Donruss and Fleer kept using the fake 1952 birth date until 1981. This meant LeFlore was nearly 35 when his career ended, not 30 as people believed. After the 1979 season, Detroit traded LeFlore to Montreal for Dan Schatzeder on December 7th. His peak came in 1980 when he stole 97 bases and led the National League. He became the first player ever to lead both leagues in stolen bases. This remains the Expos/Nationals franchise record. Only 3 other National League players since 1900 had stolen 95 or more bases in a season, but his attitude problems were getting much worse. Teams complained he was rebellious and caused major disruptions. The Expos' general manager John McHale said LeFlore created major problems beyond simple rule-breaking. He would show up to important games less than an hour before first pitch. Reports suggested Montreal had no desire to keep him. When Chicago signed him as a free agent in 1981, things got even uglier. LeFlore publicly blasted manager Tony La Russa in the media. He called La Russa a liar for promising playing time, but giving it to rookie Rudy Law instead. Even though LeFlore was hitting 300 deep into May, La Russa benched him. LeFlore called the situation "horse" and said he never forgot the betrayal. Speaking of never missing the action, today's baseball fans have it made with Fubo. Whether you want to catch every stolen base attempt or just enjoy America's pastime from home, Fubo gives you access to all the games that matter. No more missing those clutch moments that define careers, like LeFlore's incredible speed. Check out FUBO and stay connected to the game you love. LeFlore's drug problems exploded during his final season. On September 30th, 1982, Chicago police arrested him on 2 counts of illegal possession of controlled substances plus weapons charges. His MLB career ended that year at age 34, though everyone thought he was 30. After retiring, LeFlore's life fell apart quickly. He tried staying in baseball by playing in the Senior Professional Baseball Association in 1989 to 1990, where he batted .328 and .403 before the league folded. In 1995, he managed the Newburgh Nighthawks to a 28-45 record, but his reputation followed him everywhere. MLB teams repeatedly turned him down for coaching jobs because of his drug arrests and conflicts with managers. Money became a huge crisis. LeFlore worked as a sky cap and security guard to pay bills, but his biggest problem was unpaid child support. He owed massive amounts and couldn't pay. In 1999, at Tiger Stadium's closing ceremony, police arrested LeFlore for owing over $50,000 in back child support. The judge ordered him to pay $3,000 or go to jail. LeFlore paid the money immediately, then fled Michigan. He later claimed this was due to negligence because his case had been transferred to Florida, but not updated in Detroit's system. But the problems didn't stop. In 2007, police arrested him again during an autograph signing event. This time, he owed $73,000 in child support. The judge demanded $12,000 or 45 days in jail. LeFlore said he simply didn't have the money. His health started failing dramatically. Years of smoking since his teenage years caught up with him. In summer 2011, doctors had to amputate part of his right leg below the knee because of arterial vascular disease. LeFlore lost 100 pounds from 3 different surgeries. Now he walks with a prosthetic leg. The health problems continued getting worse. In March 2021, doctors found really bad circulation problems in his left leg. They had to insert stents to help blood flow. LeFlore also needed treatment for an infection in his left leg, though doctors weren't worried about losing it. He also needed hip replacement surgery a few years earlier, which was partially paid for by the MLB Alumni Association through a gift from George Steinbrenner. Today, LeFlore lives in St. Petersburg, Florida. He survives on disability payments and his MLB pension. He's asked for extra money through fundraising to cover medical expenses his insurance won't pay for. The man who once made decent money in baseball now struggles to afford basic health care. The man who once stole 97 bases in a season now struggles to walk. The player who signed autographs for thousands of fans got arrested at autograph signings because he couldn't pay his bills. His financial struggles highlight how many former athletes face dramatic income drops after retirement, especially those who didn't manage money well. LeFlore still tries to help kids through youth programs. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter appointed him to the National Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. He understands the path from street crime to prison better than most people. User reviews mention he still runs programs for city kids and helps others get their lives back on track. But his past continues to haunt him professionally. Every time he applies for a coaching job, teams remember his drug arrests and public conflicts with managers like LaRussa and problems with executives like McHale. They see his pattern of self-destruction and say no. His bad character reputation has slammed every door for potential opportunities. The saddest part might be how forgotten he's become. LeFlore was never a superstar, but he was special. He stole 455 bases in his career and had a 288 batting average. His career WAR was 18.1 across 9 seasons. More importantly, he represented hope for people who thought they had no chance. His story inspired millions of people worldwide. The movie about his life showed that anyone could change their path with the right opportunity, but real life was messier than Hollywood's version. LeFlore never fully escaped the demons that sent him to prison originally. The baseball reliquary inducted him into their Shrine of the Eternals for his larger-than-life legacy and influence that transcends baseball. Yet this recognition came while he was struggling with poverty and health problems. Looking back, LeFlore's speed on the field matched the speed of his downfall off it. The same impulsiveness that made him electric as a base stealer also drove him toward drugs and bad decisions throughout his life. The structured opportunity that baseball provided in prison saved his life once, but it couldn't save him from himself afterward. Without the discipline and routine of organized baseball, his old destructive patterns returned with devastating consequences. Ron LeFlore's legacy isn't just about stolen bases and all-star games. It's about unhealed wounds and missed opportunities for true rehabilitation. It's about how society celebrates redemption stories, but often ignores the ongoing struggles behind them. The man who once ran faster than almost anyone in baseball now moves slowly with a prosthetic leg. His legendary speed is gone. His money is gone. His fame has faded into distant memory. Ron LeFlore lived fast, but time eventually caught up. And now the man once called unstoppable sits in quiet struggle, nearly forgotten by the sport that once made him famous.
And look who's coming up. And now the man of the hour is back out on the field. Kirk Gibson, have you ever had a feeling like this?
Well, it's hard to match, I'll say that. I was the egotistical jerk in 1983. I don't have a problem saying that. Did I do anything intentionally? Certainly not. Did I want to treat people poorly? Certainly not. But the point of my book is, I think I've come full circle, and I really have a need to try and become a better person.
Losing your temper doesn't always mean you have a bad attitude. Sometimes the weight of expectations just builds up until it pushes you to the edge. Take Kirk Gibson, for example. People had such high hopes for him that the pressure almost backed him into a corner, forcing him to play with that fiery, aggressive energy. Kirk Gibson was never the kind of guy to hold back his emotions. He played with fire, intensity, and sometimes a temper that could get the best of him. Whether it was on the field, in the clubhouse, or even in the stands, he had more than his fair share of clashes. He argued with teammates, challenged coaches, and even had heated moments with fans. Some saw him as difficult, maybe even hot-headed, but those who truly understood him knew it wasn't about having a bad attitude. It was never about disrespect or trying to cause trouble. Instead, it all came from the incredible amount of pressure he had to carry from the very beginning of his career. Every game, every play, every decision, he was expected to perform at the highest level. The weight of those expectations followed him everywhere, pushing him to fight harder, play tougher, and demand more from himself and those around him. When Gibson was just starting out, Tigers manager Sparky Anderson made a bold statement. He called Gibson the next Mickey Mantle. Now, for any young player, that's an almost impossible expectation to live up to. Mantle wasn't just a great player, he was a true legend, one of the best to ever step onto a baseball field. His name was tied to greatness, and for anyone coming up after him, the expectations were huge. When people started comparing Gibson to Mantle, they weren't just hoping he would be good, they were expecting him to be extraordinary, to match or even surpass the legend himself. That kind of pressure can take a toll on anyone, and for Gibson, it was no different. He later admitted that the weight of those comparisons probably did more harm than good in the early part of his career. Instead of using the pressure to drive him in a positive way, it had the opposite effect. It made him more intense, more aggressive, and at times more frustrated with himself in the game. Instead of finding joy in the challenge, he often found himself battling with the expectations others had placed on him. That mental strain can be difficult to shake off, and for Gibson, it took a toll on his confidence and mindset. That frustration didn't just stay on the field. Gibson was known for being blunt, outspoken, and brutally honest about his opinions. He wasn't the type to sugarcoat things or play politics. If he had something to say, he said it. That attitude of his became very clear when he joined the Dodgers in 1988. During spring training, some of his new teammates decided to play a prank on him, thinking it would be funny or a way to break the ice. But for Gibson, it was anything but amusing. Instead of laughing it off like many would, he was furious. He didn't see it as a harmless joke. He saw it as disrespectful and unprofessional. To him, there was no room for that kind of behavior in a serious competitive environment. He was so upset that he didn't hold back. He publicly called out the team's lack of professionalism, making it clear how he felt about the situation. This wasn't exactly the smoothest way to start with his new teammates, and it definitely didn't win him any popularity contests in the beginning. But over time, that fiery, no-nonsense attitude began to have an impact. It helped set a new tone for the team, one that demanded focus, accountability, and a commitment to winning. And as history would show, it all paid off. That same season, Gibson played a huge role in leading the Dodgers to a World Series title. His unforgettable home run in Game 1, limping around the bases in pain, but still managing to deliver one of the most iconic moments in baseball history, became a symbol of his toughness and determination. His intensity, while tough at times, had helped shape the team into champions. But it wasn't just the weight of expectations that shaped Gibson's tough personality. He also faced plenty of challenges and obstacles along the way, some that were completely out of his control. In the mid-1980s, MLB team owners were secretly colluding to limit free agency, making it nearly impossible for certain players to sign with new teams or get the contracts they deserved. Gibson was one of the players who got caught in the middle of it. No matter how hard he played or how much he proved himself on the field, opportunities were being taken away from him behind the scenes. That kind of situation could make any player bitter, but for someone as intense as Gibson, it only added fuel to the fire. Even before his baseball career, Gibson had already seen how unfair the sports world could be. In college, he was a star football player at Michigan State, but his team got hit with recruiting violations that led to probation. That meant his football career was affected before it even really had a chance to take off. It was just another example of how outside forces seemed to be working against him. But he isn't just any player. He's a true warrior who fought his way to the top. Before he ever picked up a bat at the college level, he was already making a name for himself as a football star. Born and raised in Michigan, Gibson graduated from Waterford Kettering High School in 1975 and went on to play for Michigan State University. But back then, he wasn't known for crushing home runs. He was known for catching passes. Gibson was an All-American wide receiver for the Michigan State Spartans, and to say he was good at football would be an understatement. He led the Spartans to a share of the Big Ten Conference title, set school and conference receiving records, and played in major showcase games like the Hula Bowl and Senior Bowl. His natural athleticism and competitive fire made him a standout, and years later, in January 2017, he was honored for his football accomplishments by being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. But here's where things get interesting. Gibson's football coach, Darryl Rogers, saw something in him that went beyond the gridiron. Rogers suggested that Gibson give baseball a try just to see what he could do. So for the first time since high school, Gibson stepped onto a baseball field as a serious competitor. And just like that, in only one season of college baseball, he turned heads in a big way. He hit 390, blasted 16 home runs, and racked up 52 RBIs in just 48 games. That was all the proof scouts needed. This guy had raw, untapped talent. The Detroit Tigers saw his potential and didn't waste any time, selecting him in the first round of the 1978 Major League Baseball draft. But Gibson was such a gifted athlete that the St. Louis Cardinals of the NFL also drafted him in the 7th round of the 1979 NFL draft. That meant he had a major decision to make: football or baseball. Ultimately, Gibson chose to sign with his hometown Tigers, turning his full attention to baseball and officially beginning a career that would be anything but ordinary. Gibson made his major league debut in 1979, but it took a few years before he really found his place as a full-time starter. By 1983, he had locked down the role of the Tigers' regular right fielder, and his impact on the team only grew from there. The 1984 season was special, not just for Gibson, but for the entire city of Detroit. That year, the Tigers dominated from start to finish, winning 104 games in the regular season and steamrolling their way through the playoffs. Gibson played a huge role in their success, and when the team reached the World Series against the San Diego Padres, he delivered one of the most memorable moments in franchise history. It was Game 5, and the Tigers were up 5-4 in the 8th inning. They had runners on second and third with one out, and Gibson was stepping up to the plate. On the mound stood Goose Gossage, one of the most feared relief pitchers of his era. Given the situation and the fact that Gibson had already homered earlier in the game, most people expected the Padres to walk him. But Gossage had other plans. He told his manager, Dick Williams, that he could strike Gibson out. Gibson crushed Gossage's fastball deep into the right field upper deck of Tiger Stadium, a towering 3-run shot that put the game out of reach and sealed the Tigers' World Series victory. The stadium erupted, and Detroit celebrated its first championship since 1968. That home run didn't just cement Gibson's place in Tigers history, it became one of the most iconic moments in World Series history. Years later, when Goose Gossage was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008, he stood on stage and looked over at his former manager, Dick Williams. With a grin, he admitted, "I should have walked Gibson." Williams, never one to let something go, fired back with a laugh, joking that Gibson's home run had dented several seats in consecutive rows. It was one of those classic baseball moments, competitive fire on the field, but mutual respect years later. But Gibson's career wasn't just about one home run. He continued to be a key player for the Tigers throughout the 1980s. And even though he was one of the league's most exciting power speed threats, he still had to fight through challenges that were out of his control. After the 1985 season, Gibson became a free agent, but thanks to collusion among MLB owners, who were secretly working together to limit free agency, he received no serious offers from other teams. Forced to stay in Detroit, he helped lead the Tigers to a thrilling American League East title in 1987, edging out the Blue Jays in a dramatic race. Unfortunately, their season ended in disappointment when they lost the American League Championship Series to the eventual world champion Minnesota Twins. Early in his career, Sparky Anderson had famously called Gibson the next Mickey Mantle, a statement he later admitted was probably unfair. It placed an enormous amount of pressure on a young player who was still trying to find his identity. But despite the weight of expectations, Gibson carved out his own path. He was a rare blend of speed and power, finishing in the top 10 in home runs 3 times and in stolen bases 4 times. In 1985, he came just 1 home run short of becoming the first Tiger to join the 30-30 club. And above all, Gibson had a knack for delivering in the biggest moments. That 1984 World Series homer was just one example. He would go on to create another legendary postseason moment in 1988. But this time, it wasn't in a Tigers uniform. The Los Angeles Dodgers, coming off a disappointing 4th-place finish in the National League West, saw something special in Gibson. They weren't just looking for talent, they were looking for leadership, someone who could bring a fire to the clubhouse and help turn things around. Gibson was exactly the kind of player they needed, and when they signed him, they probably had no idea just how much of an impact he would have, not just on their season, but on the entire history of the franchise. Gibson wasn't the kind of guy who just showed up, played his games, and went home. He was intense, passionate, and determined to win at all costs. So when he arrived at spring training with the Dodgers in 1988, He expected to see a team that was just as focused as he was. Instead, he walked into a clubhouse that felt more like a frat house than a professional baseball team. One of the first things he witnessed was a prank involving pitcher Jesse Orosco, who had smeared shoe polish inside Gibson's cap as a joke. Instead of laughing it off, Gibson exploded. To him, this wasn't just harmless fun. It was a sign that the team wasn't serious about winning. He tore into his teammates, calling them out for their lack of professionalism and making it clear that things were going to change. Some guys probably rolled their eyes at first, but they quickly realized that Gibson wasn't messing around. That moment set the tone for the entire season. Gibson didn't just talk, he backed it up with his performance on the field. He played with a fire that was impossible to ignore, and his energy was contagious. The Dodgers, a team that had finished 17 games out of first place the year before, suddenly found themselves playing with confidence. Gibson became the heart and soul of the team, and though he didn't put up jaw-dropping numbers, his leadership was undeniable. By the end of the regular season, the Dodgers had completely transformed from an afterthought into a legitimate contender. Gibson finished the year with a .290 batting average, 25 home runs, 76 RBIs, 106 runs scored, and 31 stolen bases. Those were solid numbers, but nothing that screamed most valuable player. In fact, there were plenty of players who had better stats, like Darryl Strawberry of the New York Mets, who led the league with 39 home runs. But baseball isn't just about numbers, it's about impact. And Gibson's impact on the Dodgers was undeniable. He had taken a struggling team and turned them into winners. He played hurt, he played hard, and he played with an intensity that pushed everyone around him to be better. The writers who voted for the MVP award saw that, and in a somewhat controversial decision, they gave him the trophy. Some people argued that he didn't deserve it, but to Dodgers fans, there was no question Gibson was the most valuable player in the league. Not because of his stats, but because of what he had done for his team. With the MVP trophy in hand, Gibson led the Dodgers into the postseason, where they faced off against the heavily favored New York Mets in the National League Championship Series. The Mets had won 100 games that year, compared to the Dodgers' 94, and they had beaten LA in 10 of their 11 regular season matchups. To say the Dodgers were underdogs would be putting it lightly. But if there was one thing Gibson loved, it was proving people wrong. In Game 3 of the series, he made one of the most incredible defensive plays of his career. Playing left field at a rain-soaked Shea Stadium, Gibson tracked a deep fly ball hit by Mookie Wilson. As he sprinted back, he lost his footing on the wet grass and started to slip. But instead of giving up on the play, he stretched out completely, his knees scraping the ground, the rest of his body almost horizontal, and made a full extension catch. It was the kind of play that made you shake your head in disbelief, but in typical Gibson fashion, he acted like it was just another day at the office. Unfortunately, the Dodgers lost that game 8-4, but Gibson wasn't done making his mark on the series. In Game 4, with the score tied in the 12th inning, Gibson stepped up and blasted a solo home run that proved to be the game winner. It was a clutch moment, but he still had more magic left. In Game 5, he crushed a 3-run homer in the 5th inning, helping the Dodgers secure a 7-4 victory. The team was gaining momentum, and Gibson was leading the charge. The Dodgers went on to win the series in 7 games, pulling off a shocking upset and punching their ticket to the World Series. Going into the 1988 World Series, Kirk Gibson wasn't supposed to play. He had injured both legs during the National League Championship Series against the New York Mets. His left hamstring was pulled, and his right knee was swollen. The injuries were bad enough that most people assumed his season was over. He didn't even come out for the usual pre-game introductions in Game 1. He wasn't in the dugout. He was in the training room, watching the game on TV, icing his legs and dealing with the fact that he wouldn't be able to contribute on the field. The Los Angeles Dodgers were facing the powerhouse Oakland Athletics, and things weren't looking good. By the 9th inning, the A's were leading 4-3. Their closer, Dennis Eckersley, one of the best to ever do it, was on the mound, looking to shut the door and give Oakland the win. The Dodgers were down to their last out, with Mike Davis on first base. Then out of nowhere, Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda made a move that nobody saw coming. He called for Gibson. Gibson hobbled out of the tunnel, barely able to walk. He wasn't even close to 100%, but he knew he had one job: give it everything he had. The crowd erupted when they saw him step up to the plate. He was their guy, their MVP, and now he was here with a chance to save the game. But it wasn't going to be easy. Facing Eckersley is hard enough when you're healthy. When you can barely stand, that's another challenge entirely. Gibson quickly fell behind in the count, 0-2. 2 strikes, one more, and it was over. But then something incredible happened. He started working the count. He let 2 outside pitches go by for balls. He fouled off another pitch to stay alive. On the 7th pitch of the at-bat, as Davis stole second base, Gibson saw what he had been waiting for: a backdoor slider. He knew it was coming. The Dodgers had scouted Eckersley well, and Gibson was ready for it. With an awkward but powerful swing, using mostly his upper body, he made contact. The ball soared into the right field stands. Home run. The Dodgers won the game, 5-4. As he rounded the bases, Gibson pumped his right fist in celebration, a moment that would become one of the most iconic images in baseball history. The Dodgers carried that energy through the rest of the series and won the championship in 5 games. It was Gibson's only at-bat in the entire World Series, but it was all he needed. After his legendary 1988 season, Gibson's career took a few more turns. In 1991, he signed as a free agent with the Kansas City Royals, but his time there was short-lived. By 1992, he was traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Neil Heaton. However, his time in Pittsburgh was brief, as the team released him on May 5, 1992. For a little while, it seemed like Gibson's baseball days were over. But then, out of nowhere, he got an offer, though not from a Major League Baseball team. The Detroit Drive, an Arena Football League team, reached out and offered him a chance to return to football, the sport he had played at Michigan State. Despite the intrigue, Gibson declined. Instead, he found himself drawn back to baseball thanks to a familiar face. Sparky Anderson, his former manager with the Detroit Tigers, convinced him to come back. And so, in 1993, Gibson returned to the Tigers, where he would finish out his career. He played 3 more seasons in Detroit, and in 1994, he had a bit of a resurgence. He played in 98 games and hit 23 home runs before a player's strike cut the season short. By 1995, he decided it was finally time to hang up his cleats for good. Over his 17-year career, Gibson played in 1,635 games, collecting 1,553 hits, 255 home runs, 870 RBIs, and 284 stolen bases. His career batting average was 268 thousandths, but his legacy was never about the numbers. It was about the moments, the passion, the fire he brought to the game. Retirement didn't mean the end of baseball for Gibson. In 2003, he took on a coaching role with the Detroit Tigers, serving as the team's bench coach under manager Alan Trammell, his former Tigers teammate. He held that position until midway through the 2005 season, when he switched roles and became the team's hitting coach. In 2007, Gibson took on a new challenge, becoming the bench coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks. As always, his fiery personality and leadership made an impact. By 2010, after the team fired manager A.J. Hinch, the Diamondbacks handed Gibson the reins, naming him interim manager. He wasn't just a temporary fix, though. Shortly after the season ended, he was given a 2-year contract to be the full-time manager. In his first full season in charge, Gibson proved he could lead just as well from the dugout as he could from the batter's box. The Diamondbacks, expected by many to finish in last place, shocked the baseball world by winning the NL West title. For his efforts, Gibson was named National League Manager of the Year in 2011. His time in Arizona lasted 4 years. In 2014, with the team struggling, the Diamondbacks decided to go in a new direction, parting ways with Gibson. He finished his tenure with a 353-375 record in the regular season and a 2-3 record in the postseason. Gibson's career wasn't just about stats or trophies. It was about moments that define what it means to be a competitor, a leader, and a winner. Whether it was calling out his teammates for lack of focus in spring training, delivering one of the most clutch home runs in baseball history, or turning a last-place team into division champs as a manager, Gibson always found a way to leave his mark. To this day, his name is synonymous with grit and determination. And if you ever find yourself watching that 1988 home run again, watching him limp around the bases with his fist pumping in the air, you'll be reminded of why Kirk Gibson will always be remembered as one of baseball's toughest and most unforgettable players. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Also, do drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care and see you soon. Bye.
We came into spring training thinking we were the team to beat. Honestly, we did.
They got off to a great 35-5 start.
The controversy surrounding Alan Trammell's snub for the 1984 AL MVP award, along with the contentious incident during the 1984 American League Championship Series, remains a regrettable and unfortunate chapter in an otherwise stellar career. Despite his brilliance on the field that season, these moments serve as reminders of the occasional injustices in the world of baseball. But before we proceed any further, make sure to like and subscribe. Trammell's career was known for its class and consistency, with very few moments of controversy tarnishing his stellar reputation. However, two incidents from the magical 1984 season, the debate over the AL MVP award, and a peculiar moment in the ALCS sparked significant discussion among fans and analysts alike. The 1984 AL MVP award became a hot topic for debate. Trammell, who played a central role in the Detroit Tigers' dominant run to a World Series championship, had a season that many believed was MVP-worthy. His consistent hitting, solid defense at shortstop, and knack for delivering in clutch moments seemed to make him the perfect choice. Despite this, the award was given to Toronto Blue Jays outfielder George Bell, leaving many fans and experts scratching their heads. It wasn't a personal controversy, but it did stir passionate conversations. To this day, some baseball enthusiasts feel Trammell was unfairly overlooked for his contributions to one of the greatest teams in baseball history. The other moment of intrigue came during the American League Championship Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. In Game 5, with tensions running high, Trammell was hit by a pitch thrown by reliever Luis Leal. At first glance, it seemed like a straightforward play. Batters get hit by pitches all the time. However, some observers suggested that Trammell might have slightly turned his back to the plate in a way that influenced the ball's trajectory, ensuring it struck him. Whether intentional or not, it was enough to get people talking. Some saw it as a savvy move, while others viewed it as bending the unwritten rules of the game. While these moments may have sparked some debate, they hardly define Trammell's legacy. Instead, they add an intriguing layer to the story of a player whose career was otherwise defined by excellence, integrity, and an unyielding dedication to his team. Trammell's journey in baseball began in sunny San Diego, California, where he attended Kearney High School. Even in his teenage years, his talent on the diamond was evident, and his passion for the game shone through. Alongside his high school games, Trammell played American Legion Baseball, a competitive platform for young players aspiring to make it big. His standout performances and dedication to the sport earned him significant recognition, and years later, in 1989, he was named the American Legion Graduate of the Year, an honor that highlighted the foundation of excellence he had built during those early days. In 1976, the Detroit Tigers saw something special in Trammell and selected him in the second round of the MLB draft. The decision would prove to be one of the best in the franchise's history. Trammell's journey to the majors took him through the Tigers farm system, where he quickly developed into a skilled shortstop. One of the pivotal moments in his minor league career came with the Montgomery Rebels in the Southern League. There he teamed up with another promising young player, Lou Whitaker. Little did anyone know that this pairing would grow into one of the most legendary double-play combinations in baseball history. The breakthrough for Trammell and Whitaker came on September 9, 1977, when both players were called up to the majors. In the second game of a doubleheader at Fenway Park, they made their big league debuts together. It marked the beginning of an extraordinary partnership that would span 19 seasons. Their chemistry on the field was unparalleled, and they quickly became mainstays at their respective positions for the Tigers the following season. Together, they were the heartbeat of Detroit's infield, thrilling fans with their smooth double plays and consistent performance. By 1980, Trammell was starting to make a name for himself as one of the game's rising stars. That year, he hit an impressive .300, earning his first All-Star selection. It was clear that he was becoming a cornerstone for the Tigers. His progress continued over the next few seasons, and by 1983 he had elevated his game to a new level. Trammell hit .319, adding 14 home runs, 66 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases to his stellar resume. It was a true breakout season, and his achievements earned him the American League Comeback Player of the Year award. It was a particularly sweet accolade, as Trammell had endured some challenges in the previous 2 seasons, batting .258 in both 1981 and 1982. His determination to rebound and excel showed the kind of grit and resilience that defined his career. But Trammell's talents weren't confined to the baseball diamond. In 1983, he and Whitaker made a memorable cameo on the hit TV show Magnum P.I., starring Tom Selleck. The show's titular character, Thomas Magnum, was famously a Detroit Tigers fan, much like Selleck himself. Seeing Trammell and Whitaker appear on the show was a delightful treat for fans, blending the worlds of sports and entertainment. It was a moment that showcased not only Trammell's popularity, but also the widespread appeal of the Tigers during that era. The 1984 season was nothing short of magical for the Detroit Tigers, a year that fans still talk about with great pride and joy. From the very start, the team came out roaring, winning 35 of their first 40 games, a record-breaking start that set the tone for what would be an unforgettable championship run. The Tigers never wavered that season, leading the American League from start to finish. It was a wire-to-wire domination that culminated in a well-deserved World Series title. And at the heart of it all was their star shortstop, Alan Trammell. Despite battling tendinitis in his shoulder, a nagging injury that forced him to miss 23 games during the regular season, Trammell was sensational. His bat was as reliable as ever, finishing the year with a .314 batting average, which placed him 5th in the AL. He also posted an impressive .382 on-base percentage, ranking 8th. Trammell's calm leadership and consistent production were key as the Tigers charged toward October glory. In the 1984 American League Championship Series against the Kansas City Royals, Trammell continued to shine. He hit an impressive .364, adding a home run and 3 RBIs to help his team sweep the Royals and punch their ticket to the World Series. But Trammell saved his very best for the Fall Classic, where he delivered a performance for the ages. Facing the San Diego Padres, Trammell was a force at the plate, batting a staggering .450 in the series. His heroics in Game 4 were unforgettable. 2 clutch 2-run home runs accounted for all of Detroit's scoring in a crucial victory. When the Tigers clinched the series 4-1, there was no question who the MVP was. Trammell's name was etched into history as the World Series' most valuable player, cementing his legacy as a postseason hero. The years that followed had their share of challenges and triumphs. In 1985, after back-to-back seasons of hitting over .314, injuries began to take their toll. Trammell's batting average dropped to .250 as he dealt with the physical demands of a long season. He underwent surgeries on his left knee and right shoulder after the season, determined to come back stronger than he did. In 1986, fully healthy again, Trammell showcased his versatility and power. He hit 21 home runs and stole 25 bases, becoming only the second player in Tigers history to join the exclusive 2020 club. His 75 RBIs that year were a career high at the time, further proof of his all-around ability to impact the game. Then came 1987, a year that stands out as the best of Trammell's career and one of the greatest individual seasons by a shortstop in MLB history. With Lance Parrish having departed the team, manager Sparky Anderson moved Trammell into the cleanup spot in the batting order. The decision proved to be brilliant as Trammell flourished in his new role. He smashed a career-high 28 home runs and drove in a 105 RBIs while batting an incredible .343, ranking 3rd in the American League. Despite his phenomenal season, Trammell narrowly missed out on the AL MVP award, finishing 2nd in voting to George Bell of the Toronto Blue Jays. The result was controversial, as many believe Trammell's all-around excellence, particularly during the Tigers' playoff push, made him the rightful winner. His longtime friend and double-play partner, Lou Whitaker, shared the sentiment. After the season finale, Whitaker presented Trammell with second base from the field, inscribed with a heartfelt message. To Alan Trammell, 1987 Most Valuable Player, from your friend Lou Whitaker. Trammell followed up his career year with another strong season in 1988, batting .311 despite missing time due to injuries. Though he played only 128 games, he remained a steady presence in the Tigers lineup. The 1984 championship run and the incredible seasons that followed solidified Trammell's reputation as one of the greatest shortstops of his era, beloved by fans and respected by his peers. Trammell's career, both as a player and in various roles after retiring, tells the story of a lifelong connection to the game of baseball. After a stellar 1990 season where he hit .304 and drove in 89 runs over 146 games, injuries began to catch up with him. In 1991, he was limited to 101 games due to knee and ankle problems. The following year, his season came to an abrupt end after only 29 games when he broke his right ankle. Remarkably, Trammell bounced back in 1993 with a resurgent performance, batting .329. Unfortunately, with just 447 plate appearances, he fell short of the eligibility needed to rank among the league's batting leaders. The latter part of Trammell's career saw him stepping back from his usual role as the Tigers' everyday shortstop. Younger players like Travis Fryman, Chris Gomez, and Andujar Cedeno began to take over the position. Ever the team player, Trammell adjusted to new roles, filling in at third base, second base, and even the outfield. He also served as a designated hitter when needed. After 20 seasons in the big leagues, all with Detroit, Trammell hung up his cleats in 1996. Trammell's career stats are a testament to his consistent excellence. He batted over 307 seasons, finishing with a career average of .285. Over 2,193 games, he collected 2,365 hits, 185 home runs, 1,003 RBIs, and 236 stolen bases. His defensive contributions were just as impressive, boasting a .977 fielding percentage at shortstop. After retiring, Trammell seamlessly transitioned into coaching and leadership roles. He served as a hitting coach for the Tigers in 1999 and moved on to be the first base coach for the San Diego Padres from 2000 to 2002. In 2003, he returned to Detroit as the team's manager. The Tigers were in a rebuilding phase, and his first season was a tough one, with the team losing an AL record 119 games. Despite modest improvements in 2004, the Tigers still struggled in 2005, finishing with a 71-91 record. After 3 seasons and an overall record of 186-300, Trammell was let go, replaced by Jim Leyland, who led Detroit to a dramatic turnaround in 2006 with an AL pennant and a World Series appearance. Though his managerial stint wasn't marked by immediate success, many credited Trammell with laying the groundwork for the Tigers' resurgence. Even Leyland himself acknowledged Trammell's role in reestablishing professionalism and pride in the organization. Fans showed their gratitude with a standing ovation when Trammell returned to Comerica Park during the 2006 World Series pregame festivities. Trammell didn't stay away from the dugout for long. In 2007, he joined the Chicago Cubs as a bench coach. He briefly managed the team during Lou Piniella's suspension and was considered a potential candidate for the managerial role when Piniella retired. However, Trammell eventually found his way to the Arizona Diamondbacks, where he became the bench coach under his former Tigers teammate, Kirk Gibson. The pair worked together until 2014 when Gibson was let go. Trammell stayed on to manage the final 3 games of the season, finishing with a 1-2 record. In 2014, Trammell came full circle, returning to Detroit as a special assistant to the Tigers' general manager. He remained in this role for nearly a decade, contributing his baseball expertise and institutional knowledge to the franchise. He even briefly stepped into a coaching role during the 2015 season when first base coach Omar Vizquel was on leave. Recognition for Trammell's contributions to the game grew over time. Though initially overlooked for the Hall of Fame, his candidacy gained traction thanks to sabermetrics and advanced metrics like wins above replacement. In 2017, Trammell was finally elected to the Hall of Fame by the Modern Baseball Committee, alongside his longtime teammate Jack Morris. The pair was inducted in July 2018. That same year, Trammell's iconic number 3 jersey was retired by the Tigers during a heartfelt ceremony at Comerica Park, forever linking his name with Detroit legends like Al Kaline, Ty Cobb, and Sparky Anderson. Trammell's story is one of dedication, adaptability, and love for the game. Whether on the field, in the dugout, or behind the scenes, he has remained an integral part of baseball, especially to the Tigers organization and its fans. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe to Baseball Icons so that you never miss an update. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check this one out too. September 14th, 1968. Tiger Stadium erupts as Willie Horton draws a walk, and Denny McLain secures his 30th win of the season in a 5-4 victory over Oakland. Dizzy Dean himself is there to congratulate the young pitcher who just matched his 1934 record. This should have been the peak of a baseball fairy tale. Instead, it marked the beginning of one of sport's most shocking downfalls. Denny McLain didn't just win 30 games in 1968. He dominated baseball like few pitchers ever have. But the same reckless personality that drove him to greatness also led him down a path of gambling, mob connections, and multiple prison sentences. This is the story of the last 30-game winner, a man whose brilliance on the mound was matched only by his self-destruction off it. McLain's rise was meteoric. Born Dennis Dale McLain, he signed with the Chicago White Sox in 1962 at just 18 years old. His first professional start was a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts for the Harlan Smokies. But the White Sox made a crucial mistake. When they had to protect prospects from the draft, they chose Dave DeBusschere and Bruce Howard over McLain. The Detroit Tigers swooped in and grabbed him, unknowingly acquiring a future MVP and Cy Young winner. McLain's major league debut on September 21, 1963, perfectly captured his personality. At 19, he walked the leadoff hitter, then immediately picked him off. He struck out 2 more batters, hit his first and only home run, and won the game. After the victory, when a reporter asked about his glasses, McLain quipped, "Only when I want to see." When another suggested he wasn't much of a hitter, he shot back, "I'm better than Hank Aguirre." The brash confidence was already there, setting a dangerous precedent for his future behavior. From 1965 to 1969, McLain was untouchable. He averaged 22 wins per year, totaling 108 victories with 88 complete games and 1,006 strikeouts. But McLain wasn't just successful on the field, he was making money everywhere. The guy drank 24 bottles of Pepsi daily, which landed him a $15,000 annual endorsement deal, plus 10 cases delivered weekly. He learned to play the organ and performed on The Ed Sullivan Show, headlined in Las Vegas, and released 2 albums. Hammond organs paid him $25,000 to endorse their products. McLain even bought his own airplane and piloted himself to games. He once flew to an all-star game in Washington, pitched an inning, and flew back home the same day. His idol was Frank Sinatra, not for his singing, but for his wealth and power. McLain stated, "Sinatra doesn't give a damn about anything, and neither do I." This philosophy would prove prophetic. The 1968 season was the zenith of McLain's career. He went 31-6 with a 1.96 ERA, 28 complete games, and 336 innings pitched. He became the first pitcher since Dizzy Dean to reach 30 wins, and did it in spectacular fashion. McLain was unanimously awarded both the American League Cy Young Award and an MVP, becoming the only pitcher in AL history to win both unanimously in the same season. In the 1968 World Series against St. Louis, McLain lost games 1 and 4 to Bob Gibson, but demonstrated his resilience by winning Game 6 on just 2 days' rest when the Tigers were down 3-2. His teammate Mickey Lolich won Game 7, securing Detroit's championship. McLain's controversial post-series comment showed his personality. "I wouldn't trade 1 Bob Gibson for 12 Mickey Loliches." Even in triumph, he was abrasive. McLain followed up 1968 with another outstanding season in 1969, winning 24 games and leading the league in shutouts and innings pitched. He earned his 2nd consecutive Cy Young Award, tying with Baltimore's Mike Cuellar in the first and only tie in Cy Young voting history. At 25, McLain was at the peak of his fame and success. Back when McLain was flying high, he didn't just dominate the diamond, he made headlines from every corner of the country. Time magazine put him on their cover, calling him a high school wise guy. If you want that same front row experience to greatness, Fubo lets you stream every MLB, NFL, and NCAA game live. Click the link in the description to start your free trial today. McLain's extraordinary dominance, combined with Bob Gibson's 1.12 ERA in the National League, prompted Major League Baseball to make significant rule changes. The year of the pitcher led the league to lower the pitching mound from 15 inches to 10 inches and shrink the strike zone. McLain's individual brilliance didn't just earn him awards, it fundamentally altered the game's rules. But success was feeding McLain's belief that he could operate outside conventional boundaries. His natural talent and early achievements validated his reckless approach to life. The extraordinary accolades and financial gains provided him with greater freedom and fewer immediate consequences for his actions. This unchecked confidence would prove his undoing. The first crack appeared in September 1967 with a mysterious foot injury that caused McLain to miss 13 crucial games during a pennant race. He offered various conflicting explanations, stubbing his foot while watching TV, chasing raccoons, or kicking a water cooler. But in February 1970, Sports Illustrated broke a bombshell story alleging that McLain's injury was actually the result of a mobster, Tony Giacalone, stomping on his foot to collect a gambling debt. The story claimed McLain had invested $15,000 in a bookmaking operation in Flint, Michigan, with partners linked to organized crime. When a gambler won $46,000 and the bookie couldn't pay, McLain was implicated. Though McLain denied most of the allegations, he admitted to the investment and later loaned $10,000 to help pay the debt. Commissioner Bowie Kuhn's investigation focused on McLain's gambling and drug associations. On February 19, 1970, Kuhn announced McLain's indefinite suspension for his involvement in 1967 bookmaking activities. The suspension was initially for 3 months but effectively made 1970 a lost season. McLain returned on July 1st, but his troubles continued. He was suspended for 7 days by the Tigers for throwing ice water on sports writers, then suspended again after carrying a gun onto a team flight. The public exposure and suspensions directly preceded McLain's dramatic performance decline. His 1970 season was disastrous. 3-5 record with a 4.63 ERA. Detroit traded him to Washington, where he led the American League in losses with a 10-22 record. By 1972, at age 29, just 4 years after his 30-win season, McLain was out of Major League Baseball with a career record of 131 wins and 91 losses. McLain's post-baseball life became a recurring cycle of failed business ventures and criminal enterprise. He pursued various schemes characterized by his search for the fast buck: big screen television business, running a bar, writing a book, and opening medical clinics. He even managed the minor league Memphis Blues, which quickly went bankrupt. He filed for personal bankruptcy in 1977. In the 1980s, McLain was involved in loan sharking and bookmaking in Tampa, Florida. With mounting losses, he became more adventurous, leading to his 1984 conviction in Florida for violating the federal RICO statute, conspiracy, extortion, and possessing cocaine with intent to distribute. The allegations included usurious loan rates up to 130% and large-scale drug distribution supported by threats of physical harm and automatic weapons. He served nearly 3 years before his conviction was overturned in 1987 due to judicial errors and prosecutorial misconduct. But McLain's troubles weren't over. In 1993, he purchased Pete Packing, a struggling meatpacking firm in Michigan. Within a month, $3 million was allegedly taken from the company's pension fund. By 1995, the company was bankrupt. McLain and his associates were charged with conspiracy, theft, money laundering, and mail fraud for converting over $3 million for personal use, including an airplane and a Puerto Rico condominium. Despite denying knowledge of the financial illegalities, McLain was convicted and served 7 more years in prison. His MLB pension was used for restitution, directly impacting the 200 people who lost jobs and 250 families who relied on the looted pension fund. Even after serving time, McLain faced allegations of unpaid workers. As recently as 2016, he was investigated for allegedly not paying workers at a steel business, with bouncing checks and unpaid vendors. His post-baseball life demonstrated a consistent pattern of seeking quick money through illicit activities. Today, at 81 years old, McLain is described as mentally sharp and philosophical. He openly discusses his complicated life, expressing no regrets in stating, "I've done many more things than I ever imagined." He finds therapy in appearing at card shows, telling stories about his baseball days, and interacting with fans. Though he acknowledges the pain his past brings his family and feels anger that very old stuff is all people remember, he asserts he knows the truth about what happened. McLain's legacy remains complex. To many Detroit fans, he's still a hero for his contributions to the 1968 championship. However, his repeated legal troubles serve as a cautionary tale about squandered talent and reckless living. Despite his extensive criminal record, he's still remembered as the last 30-game winner, demonstrating how extraordinary athletic achievement can create lasting status that coexists with profound personal failings. His story serves as a powerful reminder that athletic glory means nothing without character, and that one singular achievement can shape public memory even amidst a lifetime of controversy.